everyone, we're here today with Business Growth Time. Welcome to our show. I am looking forward to our interview today. It's somebody that was actually on the previous show that we had, Social Media Hangout Time. He had a great interview then, and so we asked him to come back. Now, obviously, he put up with the puppet, so, you know, if anybody who could put up with the puppet, Kimmy, we're missing her a little bit, but is a great person to have on. So welcome, Ravi.
Thanks, Jan. It's great to be here and also to experience your new show. So looking forward to getting stuck in.
Yeah, well, and I want to introduce you to Terry. Terry and Ravi just are meeting for the first time, so it'll be interesting to see what Terry's feedback is here, too.
Hi, guys. Yeah. Hi, Ravi. It's great to have you on. Thanks for coming today.
Hey, Terry. Great to meet you.
You too, man.
Well, let's get into a little bit about Ravi's background because he's actually changed his business quite a bit since we had you on the last time because it's been quite a while. And I'm going to read a little bit about him, and then I'm just going to kind of give my feedback of watching him online, and because I definitely know how he works, and he's been doing a fantastic job. He loves to help online retailers create happy customers for life through customer service. He's had over 10 years of experience in online customer service, and he's used this to help organizations better understand and connect with both their employees and customers to help increase the impact on sales, marketing, and word of mouth. And I have watched Ravi grow with his online community, with his podcast, and with Post Planner, and he has a new major job there. So why don't we get into that a little bit, Ravi, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So when I was previously on the show, we talked about Facebook marketing. So I initially, when I started out in social media more than a few years ago, it was as a community manager. So it was looking after companies, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and dealing with those networks on a daily basis also means you get to deal with the customers on a daily basis. So it was through that interaction with the customers that has helped kind of strengthen my experience and I guess knowledge on customer service, because social media is still customer service, but you know it's just dealt with differently on each network. So doing the social media for a few years, I had then found Josh at Post Planner, who's a co-founder there at Post Planner, and believe it or not, I'd never written a blog before, which is quite surprising since I schedule so much content out. And he literally turned around and said, you know, yeah, I can see that you're passionate about social and you know, community management, so would love for you to write for us. So I started blogging for Post Planner. You know, the feedback was really good. You know, comments were coming in. You know, the fans were enjoying the type of content there. So then it progressed from there. Then over the next year, we then had a conversation in the next year or two to kind of ramp that up a little bit more. So I got to have the conversation with Post Planner to say, do you actually want to come on board as a, you know, an actual member of the team? And obviously dealing with them for over a year, I knew what I was already getting myself into, had a good relationship, and because it's quite a small knit team, it's very easy to kind of build that bond quickly compared to maybe like a large organization or agency. So I've been with them for about maybe less than 6 months now, but just the exposure to their audience and, you know, the kind of back end dealing with a community of over, you know, 100,000 is definitely been a learning curve.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. And I do some guest blogging with them too. And Josh is awesome. Yes. And Scott's fun. Scott's fun. He's, you know, he's a character. I love Scott. So you've got a fun team, and you've got an awesome team that builds each other up, and it's just a great community. And I have a lot of fun with Post Planner people too. And let's talk a little bit. I mean, this is kind of let's give a little shout out to Post Planner and what just happened last week. They launched.
Yes, they just launched their new web app. So there's more functionality, more features. It's also got the layout's also a lot more different. So if you're used to using the old Post Planner layout, it's a lot more streamlined in this latest version, and it's also mobile friendly as well. Well, for now it's the desktop version, but that's something they're also looking to work towards. It has a lot more Twitter features, And again, there's a lot more exciting stuff coming, and more interactions available with different social networks. So it's definitely a big time and a big push for us here at Post Planner with the new web app. So it's just about all the kind of users now getting used to that experience of migrating from the older version to the new version. But there's a lot more features for them. It's a lot more easier. So I think they're definitely going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a great product. I was tested, one of the first people that tested, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's just, and I know Terry probably hasn't used it, so I'm going to push him to use it and try it too, because you can even post from, Terry tends to do a lot with his business or his actual profile.
Yes.
Right, Terry? And so you're, in that realm, you can even use Post Planner for your personal profile too. So it's really cool. It's a neat, it's just so fun to find content and share content, and man, does it save you time. Time is, It's just amazing how much time it saves you. If you're, I can schedule out a couple weeks in advance on my page and, easily, and then just add a few things to it here and there in 20 minutes, But if I'm going that fast, but yeah, excellent. Well, let's talk about. The subject is delivering great customer service online. So let's get into this. Let's talk about how exactly you would suggest this and how you work with your clients.
Sure. So it's not actually an out-the-box solution where there's like a few tick boxes to create the great customer service. But initially, for me, how I got started into this field, I mentioned earlier about managing social media accounts and doing community management. I actually got a job at Samsung here in the UK, and I was actually the first person to manage their social media single-handedly with just another person helping on content. But they literally threw me in the deep end. They were like, here's the logins, you go ahead and do your thing. And I was very new, although passionate, but very new. The influx of comments I got was absolutely crazy. So, as you can imagine, people probably in the States as well as the UK, as well as worldwide, are passionate about their phones. So customer service was crucial because people weren't emailing to find out what was wrong with their phones. They wanted to come in on Facebook and say, the software update isn't working, when's the new phone going to be announced, and having to quickly adjust to that type of interaction was definitely a learning curve. So when we talk about building great customer service, I think the first thing off the bat is to manage expectations. If you've got a large community or following, then you're going to have to realize it's going to take more time as an investment to keep up with those comments, because it's not like email where you can wait one more day and send a reply out or wait for the support ticket. Particularly in social, they're looking for at least acknowledgement that you've read their question and you're looking into it. So doing that for over 100, 200,000, nearly 250,000 fans for Samsung was definitely something where I picked up the kind of key techniques that kind of help streamline that process. And I guess one of the main ones is acknowledging all the comments that come in. So whether that's via your website, or whether it's via social, or even whether it's via a face-to-face interaction or with other team members, any kind of support that you're looking for, you just need to acknowledge that you received it. So especially with angry customers, I mean, on the Samsung account, we never just got one or two, we got about 100 or so. So and it's because the software updates never released on time. Well, and it's very difficult to pinpoint that for the manufacturer. So we had to come in, we had to have a statement to say we apologize, and it was just a team at the time to say this is the best way to do it, rather than sweep it underneath the carpet and let the customers their negative sentiment build up. So I think there's I'm not sure the exact phrase, but a happy customer will tell maybe 300 of their friends, but an angry customer might tell 600 to 900 of their friends. So you probably noticed it yourself if you've had an experience at a restaurant and you haven't enjoyed it. You tell a handful of people, because to be fair, not many people will be interested. If you had a good meal, you might just tell a few. But if you were angry, you'd want people to know. You'd advise them not to go back there. So it's something that businesses need to manage when they first set out to, whether it's social, whether it's email, whether it's by the phone. They just need to manage that expectation so they can handle the amount of customers coming in.
So I've got a couple of questions based on some things you said.
Yeah, sure.
One isn't a question at all. So you basically said people are jerks. We got that. Hey, something bad happened. I got to tell the entire world this sucked. Why would we ever want to lift people up? It's weird to me. Two is about having a couple of 100,000 people in a community. You probably heard the same things over and over again. I'm curious how you manage that. And then three, and so we can go along the people are jerks. Talk to us about a time when you were really tempted to delete a post, right, or a comment, but you knew better because that's just not the way to handle it. So if you can use that jump-off point.
Yeah, sure. So initially dealing with that influx of people, you're 100% right. You're going to get the same questions, whether you're a retailer or in this case, selling mobile phones. There's going to be the standard questions. So, where can I go to get it fixed? How long is it going to take for an update? Or where can I go to find out more information? So in that situation, to help streamline the process, just so I wasn't manually typing the feedback out to each person, you do have a kind of like an escalation or FAQs system in place. So frequently asked questions with frequently used answers on there. So if you had a question about maybe delivery, I would look into the delivery section and I'd use that response and obviously tailor it when replying. So I think the key thing here is do not copy and paste the same response to all your audience, because they will find out and they will let you know about it. And to be fair, that's the quickest way to actually lose them, because there's zero personality in there. So have a escalation process in place so you know what to deal with certain type of comments. If you want to categorize it for your business, you can. I mean, if you're in phones, it's a little bit more straightforward, but if you're in fashion, you might have shoes, jackets, you might have different type of queries for different products. So you can categorize that, and if you set that up with your team in advance, then they've got something to refer to. I think the other important thing to realize is, for everyone listening in, is if you're a manager of a customer service department or you're the head of digital, is to empower the actual customer service team and employees to have a hands-on approach with dealing with customers. One thing I found initially was, because I didn't initially have that power to make a decision on behalf of the company as someone representing customer service, it had to go through 2 or 3 channels, which meant the customer was waiting a lot longer. If once I was given that authority, then I could say to them, we would specifically deal with it like this. This is how I can help you. I could actually come across and deliver a solution rather than wait for approval higher up. So that was another thing. And lastly, angry customers. It's that age-old question whether the customer is always right. It weighs up both ways. The customer definitely is entitled to their opinion. I think that's the best way to look at it. Technically, there isn't a wrong way for them to react, because that's who they are, it's their personality, it's their experience. But the way you handle it can always be done in a professional way. Now, I'm not going to pretend like there wasn't the so-called troll type fans with, for example, Samsung, and you do get them anywhere online or even on the phone, for example. So those ones, if you've given the full advice, if you've explained to them, you've done everything you can, then at that stage you have to let them know that that's all you can do. And if they don't appreciate that, then unfortunately, that's a customer that you're going to have to let pass by in that sense. If you've given them the full help and they're still coming back negative, you shouldn't be afraid to let them go. Or if it's social, then you shouldn't be afraid to hit that delete or ban button. So I think you've given them plenty of time. You've helped to understand. You've empathized with them, and if they're still coming back with that tone of voice, then it's definitely okay to let them know that this is not tolerated, or you can't speak to our employees that way.
That's a good tip, because I think a lot of people want to just automatically delete. I know I've had many clients that I've worked with. They're like, just get rid of that. Just get rid of that. And I'm like, well, I think you should respond first. And if it's something that, and there's always scenarios because it just depends on what it is and how bad it is. Because, I mean, there's certain things where, yeah, you absolutely, if it's so bad, you want to delete and ban them from an account. So I think it all depends on the case, but the best way is to approach it first and try to take care of it, it sounds like. But if you need to, don't be afraid to delete it.
Yeah, because if you can transform that angry customer into one that's satisfied because you resolved the issue, again, the word of mouth from that example will spread. So, whether it's social or whether it's email, they're going to let people know that this company went out their way to help us. So if you can go the extra mile, if you can help them, if you can't help them in one specific area, or you can at least direct them to somewhere where they can get help, then that's something that they're always going to appreciate.
From your perspective, will you define customer service for us and then lead into who's actually responsible inside of an organization for it?
Yeah, sure. So customer service simply is just providing a service that allows you to serve your customers. So when we talk about business, it could be the buying and selling transaction. It's serving your customers before the actual sale happens. So in terms of your brand image, how you put yourself across, because at that point in time, your customer doesn't know they're a customer yet because they're waiting to make a decision. So carrying yourself out professionally before, carrying yourself out, providing that service during. So while they're looking at your promotions and offers, once they purchase, the after sales process is something you also want to concentrate on. So I say it's like a three-prong approach. You want to kind of have that service mindset for customers who haven't come on board yet. Obviously, during the transaction process, things like refunds, promotions, price points, while they're actually purchasing, and lastly, the after sales process. So how have they found the experience, the feedback, and because it's that you're going to use as a customer service team or department that's going to help you improve. And within an organization, it varies on the size of the company, but for example, what you can have in most companies is you have a marketing department, and there might be people who work on the online side of things or digital that deal with customer service as well, but they haven't got a specific title as a customer service agent or a department. So if that's the case, then customer service is defined within a different job role. You have different, more bigger companies, or even companies that maybe sell physical goods and rather than just services, they might have a separate department. So it might be literally one or two people managing the whole process. But the biggest piece of advice I can give for anyone who is selling online is empower everyone in the company in terms of employees to come on board with the process. So it shouldn't be the fact that your financial guy doesn't know how to deal with a customer for a refund and he's asking the customer service team or marketing guy. If they're all empowered with that knowledge to deal with customers, then you're going to have a much more smoother experience and also deal with the queries a lot quicker. So if you're managing a team or a small business or even in a huge organization, empowering your customers, your employees to deal with customers as a whole is going to help your business get a lot further.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, I really think that you've taught a lot of great tips for customer service, but what I want to do is get into a little more about what is this going to do. Let's take it to the next step where we actually give an action step. Let's give our audience a specific action that they can take. Now, we're called Business Growth Time because we really want to, get into how is this going to help grow your business? How is it going to help grow their business? But I think overall what you've talked about is something that obviously is going to help grow a business because you need to respond as customer service. But do you have a specific action step that we can give our audience?
Yeah, sure. So one of the biggest pet peeves for customers when they're online or even dealing with a company is not being listened to. So, and not being listened to and also not being responded to. So leaving a query unanswered for a longer period of time. I'm not sure what the official stats are, but the last article or documents that I read said that people on social, for example, they expect an answer within an hour. So it's gone from 24 hours from an email to a 60 to 90-minute window via a tweet or a Facebook message or even a comment. So the biggest piece of actionable advice I would give is to look at your response times and find what's realistic for your company. So if you're going to say to a customer that you're going to respond within 5-6 hours or you'll get back to them before 7 p.m., make sure that it's realistic that you're able to do that. And secondly, have an escalation process in place, because from when I first started off at Samsung, I was manually pasting in comments into Excel, sending it to the team, waiting for them to send me back the reply, which was very technical. Then I had to translate that tone of voice into social. This whole process took about 5 to 6 hours of my day if you add up the volume of comments. So luckily I streamlined it. The escalation process means you know who's in charge in terms of making a decision, and also if there's something that's very urgent, you know who to escalate it to. So it might be someone more senior in your organization, or it might be your manager or line manager, but there's that point of interaction where you know if this has got, maybe the person's high influence, or maybe something serious happened with their product where PR needs to get involved, so you know who to escalate it to. So have an escalation process in place, have the comments, the most common answers in place as well, but also make sure you tailor that and manage your response times. I know that's a couple, but I guess they kind of go hand in hand.
No, that's great.
Are there any bad responses on social media when you're responding to a customer?
Yeah, definitely. The most obvious one is, so on your personal profile, you scroll through your news feed, you kind of, relaxing through that, and you kind of notice people complaining about the weather, politics, whatever it is. Now, that may be fine if it's your friends or something personal, like, you don't like a music artist or something, but when it's on a fan page, I've seen it a few times where that's, someone's responded in a personal way to an angry fan. So, you don't want to take anything personally that you do receive online. The whole reason why we encourage you to kind of sign off your comments with your name and have that personal approach is so they can help better understand you at the same time, because I think a lot of customers who are angry at the actual company or the experience. They're not angry as you as an individual. So I'd say definitely don't take any negative feedback personally.
We had Daphna Michelson-Janae on the show in episode 44, and in it she talked about her social media mission statement. And she used that as a guide to know what to post and what not to post, and she does it for herself and for companies she works with. Do you have something similar to that allows you to say, whoa, this doesn't fit into this isn't on brand for me. I can't post this because it's not in that guiding light?
Yeah, I think there's two ways of looking at it. Working in social media all this time, I understand that customers, whether believe it or not, they do not want 100% business content. The value's there, but you also have to give them time to apply it. So if I gave you 1,000 customer service tips, split it into 250 a day over 4 days, the value might be worth millions of dollars, but you have not got time to absorb that sheer quantity. So mix it up with entertaining content and something that reflects your personality. I think if you're the owner of the company and it's Pancake Day, for example, you can have some fun with it. Show the behind the scenes, show the actual people behind the brand. Even post up some humor, so add some personality to your. The word humanization is a bit overused in marketing, but I guess to kind of put it in a normal context is just to showcase your personality. So for me personally, I wouldn't post anything with like swearing or anything like that in it, just because personally I don't actually, that's not something that I relate to. But for another person like Gary Vaynerchuk, it might be something that his fans are used to, so they don't mind him swearing on his page. They'll probably give it a share and a thumbs up. So that's his personality. So I think go with what's in line with how you feel and what you kind of represent, and share that kind of content. If you don't agree with something, then I think the best way is to just not post it.
That kind of reminds me of the image that we were looking to use and the verbiage we were looking to use on our last show, Terry. We just decided that it was just too negative, and we fixed it and changed it, because my first thought was that way.
Yeah.
Terry, I said to Terry, I go, should we go with this or not? And he's like, yeah, it's not typically what I like to do. So we
Yeah.
changed it, and so that makes sense. If it's not your brand and how you want to portray yourself, you need to clean it up, or however, or if you do want to portray yourself that way, then that's fine too. Like you said, Gary's a
Right,
great.
then embrace it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's no one size fits all. I mean, it's easy for us to get lost into looking at influencers with millions of fans doing something one way and copying that. But if one person's got success with like Gary Vaynerchuk style of content and you try and copy it, you're probably not going to reach half the people, or get the engagement from even a percentage of what he's getting. So showcase your uniqueness, have fun with it at the same time, because we are all here to. Although we're here to work, we're also here to enjoy ourselves in the business as well. Even as employees, even as entrepreneurs, you've got into the business because you love what you do. So showcase that on your social profiles and through your replies, and when you're servicing customers as well.
Great. That's a great place to end this at. I think you covered a lot of information, and I think people need to take it to heart and to see themselves. I completely agree. Well, let's finish up with you and where we can find you, Ravi. Where's the best place for people to reach out? And then obviously we see your website too.
Yeah, so social media wise, you can reach me at facebook.com/Ravi Shukle and Twitter @Ravi Shukle. And lastly, you can find out all my latest blogs and content on my website at ravishukle.com.
Pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. Terry, do you have any ending statements you want to?
No, not really, man. I do think you hit on a really important topic. I think customer service is key, and social media as a customer service tool is one application that's so overlooked. So I'm glad that you brought your knowledge and experience to the show. I'm sure our customers and our viewers, our friends, our partners, our people out there in cyberspace, whatever the heck we're going to call them, I'm sure they appreciate you and what you shared. So thank you for being here with us today, Ravi.
Yes,
well,
thank you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you both having me on the show. It's been fun.
Thanks. And you can our audience can find the show at socialmediahangouttime.com/48. This is show number 48. We are transitioning. You can also just go to businessgrowthtime.com, and that will take you there also. Thanks for your time.